Good evening. It feels sort of weird to do this from up here. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. I should say good afternoon. When we first planned this year's State of the City, we thought it would be fitting to gather on the lake because that's where our story really began. In 1884, with the completion of the Big Bear Dam, which started as an effort to bring water to the citrus groves and redlands, became the foundation for the vibrant community we know today. While the weather may have forced us to postpone this event, it served as the perfect reminder of why this year's budget theme is all about resiliency. Here in Big Bear Lake, we know what it means to adapt, to rise to challenges, and to keep moving forward, no matter the circumstances, whether it's snowstorms, economic shifts, or simply a sudden change in weather. This community always finds a way to come together, to adjust, and thrive. Today, as we finally gather to celebrate 45 years of incorporation, we reflect on our journey from where we started to where we are and where we're going. When our residents chose to incorporate in 1980, they did so with a vision. They wanted local control of land use decisions to ensure revenue generated here would be reinvested here, and to provide essential municipal services tailored to our mountain environment, from plowing our snowy roads to maintaining our parks and trails. Those principles remain at the heart of who we are today. Over the past 45 years, we've honored that original vision by investing in our village and Moonridge Corridor, reinvesting in local infrastructure, and supporting small businesses that give our city its character. And through it all, we've worked to balance growth with the natural beauty that first drew so many people to these mountains. Today, Big Bear Lake is more than just a city. We're a community with many faces and many stories. Longtime residents who remember what it was like when the roads were quieter and the boulevard was one lane with no traffic lights. Families who've chosen Big Bear Lake as their home, raising the next generation in a place that values both tradition and progress. Retirees, second homeowners, and visitors who return year after year, drawn to our four-season lifestyle, whether it's skiing in the winter, hiking and mountain biking in the summer, or simply enjoying the calm of the lake at sunset. This blend is what makes us special, a small town that feels like a home, but also a destination that shares its beauty with the world. So what have we been up to? In just the last year, we've made some real progress. We've completed the Castle Rock Trailhead parking lot, easing highway congestion. I will tell you, I hiked it yesterday, and I just love parking in that parking lot, though it's really steep from the parking lot, while improving access to one of our most popular hikes. The Moonridge Rathbun project has been completed with new streets, sidewalks, and nearly 100 public parking spaces that will spur local economic activity. We're investing again in the village, more parking, more walkability, more support for the small businesses that give it character. And through our facade improvement program, we've allocated another $150,000 in grants to local businesses to help keep our corridors vibrant. We're working on sewer projects to improve our infrastructure. We celebrated community by bringing residents and visitors together with another full summer of concerts in the village, to be followed up by more great concerts on Halloween this Friday and at the Christmas tree lighting. And last month, the city transitioned its permitting process into a 24-hour online process where you can submit, review, print, and pay for all building permits from the comfort of your home, making this process easier and more accessible. We've also welcomed new developments that will bring jobs, strengthen tourism, and expand opportunities. Marshall's, Tractor Supply, Grocery Outlet, the Hampton Inn, Marina Riviera Hotel, Stony Brook Event Center. The owners of Azteca Grill are opening a new restaurant in the village. The owners of Saucy Mama's Pizzeria are bringing 2 new restaurant spots to the village. And the soon-to-be-opened Applebee's and IHOP, to name just a few with more businesses on the horizon. But as proud as we are of what has been accomplished, we know progress never stops. The current City Council is committed to building on this foundation. That means continuing to invest in infrastructure, supporting responsible development, and protecting the natural environment that makes Big Bear Lake so unique. It also means looking thoughtfully at the long-term future of our community. This year, we will begin the important work of reviewing and updating our city's general plan, a process that has not been undertaken in 25 years. The updated general plan will guide how we grow, how we balance our role as a four-season destination with our responsibility as a hometown, and how we ensure Big Bear Lake continues to thrive for generations to come. Updating the general plan will take a true community effort. As part of the process, we'll be engaging residents, businesses, and stakeholders through extensive outreach and opportunities for input. I encourage everyone to share their ideas and help shape the vision of what Big Bear Lake will look like, not just in the next few years, but for the next 20 years and in generations to come. As we celebrate 45 years of incorporation, I am reminded that our city's history is still being written. Each of you, residents, business owners, second home families, and visitors, play a vital role in shaping who we are and who we will become. Big Bear Lake began with a dam and a vision. Today it thrives because of the people who believe in it. And tomorrow it will continue to grow because of the care, creativity, and community spirit that defines us. But before we look ahead together, it's important to pause and honor the leaders who helped shape our city's journey. Over the past 45 years, Big Bear Lake has been guided by city councils and mayors who navigated challenges, championed opportunities, and carried forward the hopes of our community in good times and in bad. I also want to take a moment to thank those who are leading alongside me today, my council colleagues, Mayor Pro Tem Segovia, council members Chuck Hicks, Randy Putz, and Rick Herrick. Each of them works tirelessly to serve our residents and to move our community forward. And of course, none of this that we celebrate tonight would be possible without our city manager, Eric Sund, and the dedicated staff of the city of Big Bear Lake. They're the ones that do the hard work, day in and day out, plowing our roads, maintaining our parks, planning our events, and keeping our city running. Their efforts include organizing this wonderful celebration. They reflect the spirit of service that makes our community so strong. In just a moment, I'll be joined by a panel of former mayors, including one of the city's founding fathers, who will share their reflections on where we've come from and what has changed and what has lasted. It's a chance to honor their leadership and to learn from their perspectives as we chart the next chapter in our city's history. So with gratitude for all who have served and all who continue to contribute, I invite you to join me in welcoming our panel of past mayors. Norm Rennick, Mayor 1988, Council Member 1980 to 1991. Bill Yon, Mayor 2006, 2007, 2011, 12, and 17, and a Council Member from 2004 to 2020. Rick Herrick, Mayor 2008, 2009, 2018, 2020, 21, 22, and Council Member from 2006 to present. David Coretto, Mayor 2015, 2016, and 2021, and Council Member from 2010 to 2021. And Randall Putz, Mayor 2019 and 2023, and Council Member 2024 to the present. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you all for being here. Is this working? Yep, it is. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for accommodating when we had to reschedule from last month. So I'd like to start with a few questions to guide the conversation, and then we'll let it flow naturally. We'll begin by looking back at where we've come from, then talk about the lessons and reflections from serving as mayor, and finally close by looking ahead to the future of Big Bear Lake. So Norm, I'd like to start with you.
Thank you.
You had the unique honor of being one of the city's first mayors. What was it like stepping into that role and helping lay the foundation for our city?
The only person that could really answer that question would be John Eminger, because he was mayor for the first 5 years. I was mayor number 4, so I had 3 great guys in front of me. By the time I got to be mayor, it was old hat. No big deal.
So I'll open this up to the panel. When you think back to your time as mayor, what is one project, improvement, or initiative that you're most proud of? David?
I'll start. Of course, you can see from all the pictures in the background, all the projects that were done, and a lot of those were accomplished during 2010 to 21 when I was on the council, and proud of all of them. But I think my colleagues here, the 4 guys sitting here, other than Norm, who will remember everything, I'm most proud of the fact that I spearheaded the project to acquire the property on the south side of Baker Pond, which ultimately resulted in extension of our trail system, the connection to Stanfield Cutoff and Alpine Pedal Path, and then the westward expansion of the trail along the boulevard, but also the parking lot and the restrooms that are there. So it really is a project that benefits not only our residents who use it, but all the visitors who come to the community, and I'm really proud of that one.
So the project, and actually outside our city boundaries, which counts, because the time I was mayor and the time I was president of the Chamber of Commerce, one of the big issues was our bridge, which sat on top of the dam, which you would spend any time if you walked across it or if you rode your bike there. When a car or especially a big truck would go by, it would shake like crazy. Parts of it would fall off. And the Caltrans engineers would come to town and often just condemn it and say, we're going to close it. And we would all panic and say, you can't do that. It had taken a period of time to do what was described as environmental, but they, at the time, jokingly called it the Bushes and Bunnies report. And it was going to go stale, and so myself and Sherry Haggerty, who worked here, we spent a lot of time going up to Sacramento and spending time with whoever would listen about the condition of the bridge and what we needed to do to move it forward. And miraculously, suddenly it was back on the top of the list of Caltrans projects to get done. $65 million project, again, outside our boundaries, but that made a huge difference. If that bridge had been closed down during any period of time, it would have killed everything on the south side of Big Bear. So it's that bridge, and every time I drive across it, I feel proud, and I know they had a lot of help also from council members during that period of time to make it happen.
Bill?
Thank you, Mayor. And I was lucky enough to be mayor when we had the grand opening of the bridge. And I want to thank Rick and the chamber for all the hard work that you guys did on that. And they did all the work, and then at the end I got to cut the ribbon. So it was good for me.
So that's one of the benefits of being mayor.
Exactly. But I think one of the highlights that I'll always remember is the day we opened the village after we rehabbed it. I was involved in the structure and the financing for that project, along with our city manager and our director of engineering at the time. But that was a real thrill, and it was really, for me, a great time because I had the opportunity to work with our sub-regional partners, mainly SBCTA, formerly Sandbag, as well as SCAG. And it's when I got my feet wet on financing some of these projects. I'm proud of the amount of money that I was able to bring into the city for different projects, and such as the village, such as the turnaround at North Shore, and several others. So that's pretty much my story.
Randy?
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. I'm going to give a two-part answer, if you don't mind. First of all,
I would expect nothing less.
in terms of our physical infrastructure, the thing that I'm most proud of is the Rathbun corridor and the work we continue to make on that. I was active in that program even before it reached the city, and when it's ultimately completed, and it's taken a while, but it's a big undertaking, you know, it'll connect the forest on the north side of the lake to the forest on the south side of the lake. And every time I walk on it, it just brings a lot of pride. We have more work to do on it, but so far it's going very good. So those physical improvements are always nice because they're lasting and they'll be here long after we're gone. But I would also add that the second part to this is I'm proud of our collective ability to keep the wheels on the bus, if you will, and to keep the city functioning well during some very trying times. Whether that's a pandemic, whether that's fires, whether that's certain personalities, you know, whatever the case may be. It's not always easy, and I'm grateful to everybody here on the stage that's contributed to that and others in our community. But I think that's one of those things that's easy to take for granted and allows us to do things like this.
Norm?
Not necessarily when I was mayor, but what I'm very proud of is having been a part of that first city council that got this city off to a successful start, that laid the plans for many of the things you see today, like the revitalized village. We did that largely by getting the state highway out of town and by not requiring village businesses to have parking on their own property. Because if we continued with that, the whole village would not be a village. You'd have no place to put the buildings. And then we also laid the plans for widening the highway, the plans for this building. But personally, what I'm personally proud of, and this happened the year that I was the mayor, I came up with this idea of a youth exchange program between Big Bear Lake and our sister city of Optenau, Austria. That's a program that went on for more than 20 years. Sent well over 100 kids from Big Bear on the trip of their lifetime, including Randy's two stepsons, Dallas Goldsmith, Wade Reeser, just to mention a few. That's what I'm personally proud of. Those kids who are now adults still come to Linda and I and say that it was the trip of their lifetime that they'll never forget. So I couldn't be any more proud of anything than that.
Mayor, could I also just add, Norm should be very proud of the foresight that the group of people who incorporated the city had to push it through, even though it faced great difficulty in the entire valley. And the city of Big Bear Lake is much better off being an incorporated city, and Norm is very much a part of that.
Well, since most of the other people that worked on it are no longer with us, I can take that credit, but the credit really goes to Bob Davies, Joe Felice, Ron Bangert, Bob Burton, and John Joyner. They were, I may be forgetting somebody else, but those five guys, they worked really hard. we got this thing on the ballot in 1977. I got elected, but it didn't matter because incorporation lost. And they didn't give up. They didn't give up. They came back a couple of years later, and we were successful in 1980. And you guys have all kept that success going.
So Big Bear Lake is a true four-season destination. Was there a particular season or community event that stood out to you as something especially memorable?
If I could, it was the Tour of California, Amgen Tour of California. For so many reasons, really put us on the map. Visit Big Bear, which at the time was a Visitors Bureau, it had actually several different names, was doing a great job with exposing the world to Big Bear. But when we had the opportunity to have a presentation of the best cyclists in the world coming to Big Bear, and on a national, worldwide level, where cyclists and enthusiasts they could have been from Europe, Australia, it didn't matter. Suddenly everybody started to know about Big Bear, what was taking place. And I believe our first victor of the tour, actually at least on this leg that came up, was 125 miles, 13,000 feet of climbing, was Peter Sagan, who went on to be one of the greatest cyclists in the world. And one of the things he talked about when he was asked what was your greatest victory, he many times said it was right here in Big Bear. So it was a very, very proud moment for all of us.
Yeah, once again, on the tour, Rick did all of the work, and I was lucky enough to be mayor, so I got to cut the ribbon again the second time.
I was mayor at the time we organized it, but that's absolutely true. But you did a great job presenting the trophies.
There you go. I think one of the projects that stands out to me again is again probably one of the most popular ones that our family enjoyed was the Christmas tree lighting in the village. I think that's a major event. I mean, it draws thousands or hundreds of people, and really has always been a successful event. When my wife and I first moved up here, that tree was about this tall, and now you look at where they're getting a crane to put the ornaments up and stuff. You just throw them over you. But that's the important one, and of course the 4th of July. Rick and his radio station do a great job on that one as well. But when we first moved up here, there was a program that was called, I think it was called Christmas in July. And it's when everybody lit up their boats and put on Christmas and then drove around. And we actually won that one year. And I saw they're bringing it back. I think it's the Parade of Lights or something they had last year. Hopefully they'll bring it back. It was just a lot of fun. And the community really got involved in it, so it was fun.
I agree with the Tour of California and the multiple times that we hosted it here. It was significant, and it put Big Bear on the world map. And I recall numerous times running into people who were here because of that event from Europe and places across the globe. So that was significant. But I'll take your tour of Big Bear and raise you a Big Bear marathon. That event, while it only happened once, in a lot of ways was magical, at least for me and the people that participated in it. And it was quite stunning to be able to finish on the jetty in the middle of the lake. And the other part that was significant about it was that the community really came together in a significant way and really did an exceptional job of being exceptional hosts to the competitors in it, and we got rave reviews, and I think it went a long way towards elevating and helping pave the way to all of the endurance sports that we continue to enjoy here.
Thank you.
Mayor, I agree with Bill about the 4th of July being a very special event, and the tree lighting ceremony bringing so many people, not only visitors, but all of our community out to see that ceremony is a great thing. And that's what I was going to talk about. You asked about a season, though, that's our favorite. And if you ask my wife, she will tell you fall. This very time of the year is the best time in Big Bear. And we had the pleasure of having Marty Murray do our landscaping for us and put flame red maple trees in the front. And we drove by today, and unfortunately they were barren. All the leaves had fallen off, but that's a wonderful time of year. But I would just add one other event that I think was really fun, and some of you people will remember because you've been here long enough, were the parades down Big Bear Boulevard. And we only saw those for once or twice, but I really loved that parade when it was a big deal. We had the military here, and it was just a fun time for the community to come out.
Thank you. We'll move on to some lessons and reflections of being mayor. So leadership is always a journey. What lessons did you learn as mayor that stick with you today?
I'll go.
No lessons. Rick?
So,
So I'm
Some
going to
of the
repeat, I'm just going to repeat the question for Norm. So leadership is a journey. What lessons did you learn as mayor that stick with you today? Rick?
the most important lessons that I learned as mayor and on council, and I'm sure all the council members would agree, is the ability to listen well. And you have to be, if you're going to hold these positions, you have to be a very, very good listener, because sometimes you're barraged with not the nicest verbiage coming your direction. But even with that, sometimes there's just a little jewel, a little pearl of wisdom that comes out of even somebody who's angry. And if you can pick up on that and use that into your own thought process, but it's not an easy thing to do. So I think listening was probably, and pausing. Listening and pausing were the two most important things I learned, and I learned it actually from the council members that I was serving with at the time, because they demonstrated that so well.
Bill?
Yeah, I would agree with Rick. One thing that I picked up my years on the council is how important it is to listen, as Rick said. But you really have to get involved. You have to understand the issue. You have to understand all sides of the issue, and you have to hear everybody out. And you can't go into a meeting with your mind already made up. I mean, there's so many variables that goes on some of these issues, and it's really important to understand all of it. And I think listening and trying to get the community involved, or not necessarily the community, but maybe the community leaders involved in some issues that affect the whole city. It's just important, and I think that listening and understanding the issues before you vote on it, or before you take action on it, is important.
David?
Yeah, I agree that listening is very important. It's one of the things I wrote down. I think also compromise. As a member of the council, you have to listen to your colleagues and try to come to a consensus if you can. But I think it's also important to stand by your own principles and do what you think is best. And my colleagues here will remember times when we've sat in this very room with 325 people who were very angry at private home rentals, tree ordinance, you name it. And I think it was very important to listen to the frustration and the outcry that we heard, and to try to come up with a compromise or a settlement that worked for everybody. And you never can please everybody that comes before city council, but you have to do your best and what you think is right.
I've found it an interesting thing to be mayor, because the reality is, in a lot of ways, you're just another council member. at the same time, you have the added responsibility of running the meetings. And hopefully you do so in an effective way. And I've found that I think I think that there is an opportunity when you're in that role, this is one of the things that I've learned, is to take these qualities that have been mentioned, listening, some amount of compassion, and using those to reach consensus and compromise. And that as the person running the meeting, you're best situated to be able to deploy those qualities for our collective good. So, for me, sometimes I felt like a ringmaster, if you will, trying to keep all the wild animals doing their job. Yeah. But I think it can be very helpful, and it gets us to a better place, and hopefully does that maybe a little more efficiently.
Kind of like what the other guy said, you learn the art of compromise. In my early years in the council, if there was a 4-1 vote, I was usually the one. But I figured out by the time I was mayor that if you want to get anything done, you got to have 2 more votes. And you didn't know who those 2 votes were coming from, so you had to be nice to everybody.
You all may have touched on the answer to this question in this last question, but I'll put it out there anyway. If you could offer one piece of advice to future mayors, or even to the community as a whole, what would it be? Bill?
On a council level, it's important to stay, or it's critical, to stay involved, and stay involved in not only the community, but with our community leaders, with our sub-regional leaders and our regional leaders as well. I mean, what happens down in the valley a lot of times directly affects us up here in Big Bear. And the boards like SBCTA, which is the Transportation Board, Southern California Association, which is another regional board that has 5 counties and almost 200 cities that sit on the board. A lot of those transportation and monies come from those boards, through those boards. I know we have good representation now on SBCTA that Rick's doing, but it's important to be involved, because if you're not at the table, there's a pretty good chance you're on the menu. And when you have a lot of big cities like the city of San Bernardino, Ontario, Rancho Cucamonga, they're all in there fighting for dollars, and we have to make sure that we get our share of money as well. So.
I just, if I could, so I'm on the board now, SBCTA, not on SCAG, but when I first made it on, people would say, Rick, who? How's Bill doing? How's Bill doing? Bill was actually the president of SBCTA, which at the time was Sandbag, and also SCAG, and he would travel all the time into Los Angeles and run that huge, and we're talking not millions of dollars, but billions of dollars that would be funneled in through the state or feds, or actually coming from the cities as well. And it is a huge battle, and I learned a lot from Bill how to do it. He suggested a couple times to me that if the staff has a suggestion, it's generally a really good one. They've really studied it, number one. And you're going to have to take the gloves off at times, or find a group of friends that are going to back you for the things that you need if you want to have money coming our direction. And because of that, it took a while for me to kind of get into the swing of it, because it was during COVID, and everything was on Zoom. We finally got in person. I realized what a high level of leaders these are in Southern California, and it was an honor to work with them. And it was an honor to figure out, again, allies and working through, and actually getting more funds coming our direction as well. So, but that was Bill who taught me how to do that. So thank you, Bill.
Mayor, if I could add on to that, Bill and I have known each other, 35 years, something like that. And he's been on 2 city councils and all these other organizations. If you ever want to see a politician work a room, just follow Bill at a meeting, because he knows everybody, shakes hands with everybody, talks to everybody. And really, as Rick said, that's how you get things done, is having all those connections. And Bill was excellent at it and brought in millions of dollars to this community that have been put to good use.
The advice I would offer to another or a future mayor would be to mind the relationships. Pay attention to the relationships. This all only works well when we have good relationships. And when those relationships break down, we suffer as a result of it. And that's relationships on the council, that's relationships throughout the valley, throughout the county, throughout the state. They're all critical. And I don't know if many people realize this, but Big Bear Lake punches above its weight consistently and has for some time. And it enjoys a very good reputation out there in the county and in the region. And frankly, a big part of that reason is because of people here on this stage. And I'm grateful to the people that have come before me, and we all stand on the shoulders of those people that have come before us. But I think one underlying thing that makes that work so well is the quality of the relationships.
The question is advice to future council members
Or
Like-
the community. Or the community.
or the community. Yeah, that apply to anybody. As we said to the previous question, you need to learn to compromise, because you get more done through compromise and cooperation than you do through confrontation. John Spivey, who was mayor before me, was fond of saying, "We disagree agreeably," and that's true. But in compromising, you should never lose sight of your principles, and you don't compromise your principles. Case in point was Bill Spires, who was the mayor after me. Bill was a really smart guy, nice guy, had the best interests of Big Bear at heart. But his problem was he tried to make everybody happy. The net result was he was a one-term councilman. To the contrary, it was me. I had a guy come up to me one time and say, I disagree with you on just about everything, but I like the way you're doing the job. I don't know if he voted for me or not, but I never lost a council election.
So being a mayor is a very visible role. What is one misconception people often have about the job? Bill?
Well, I think one of the big things is some folks think that the mayor has a lot of power, and reality is that while the mayor does represent the city, and events such as this that we're doing tonight, the fact of the matter is it boils down to the mayor gets one vote just like the rest of the council. I think as far as the actual power of the mayor, the way the city is structured, where the mayor is elected by the council, is probably the best way to go. We're not a big enough city to have the mayor elected separately, although there may be some disagreement on that up here. But and I also think it's important that the mayor have a majority of the council backing to be mayor. So the rotation idea doesn't work all that well. I've, again, working on the regional issues, I've talked to a number of cities that had the auto rotation thing, and it just didn't work. They didn't like it. They weren't real happy with it. So, but I would think when it gets down, when everything boils down, the mayor has the same one vote that everybody else has. So.
Rick?
I'll elaborate on that a little bit. And I think one of the big misconceptions that happens is that somehow when you're mayor, you're handed the magic wand. And all you have to do is wave the magic wand and things get fixed. But without the ability to present your ideas to the other council members and to staff members and have them see your vision of what you see or what you think should be done, you're not going to get 2 more votes, and you're not going to move forward with it. And so when somebody new maybe comes in and believe, because now I was elected, it's going to be done my way, and it generally takes 6 months to a year, sometimes even longer for certain council members to understand, no, you have to have a relationship, and you have to present your ideas well if you want to move things forward. So it's not an easy job when you come in, and this is my last term, and I think everybody knows that. And I'm hoping somebody in District 2 will come forward and want to run for my seat. And if that happens, I'd love to sit down with them ahead of time and have them understand this is a lot more than just the city council. It's a lot more than fire department and sheriff's department. You're talking about planning, land use, relationships that are so important throughout the county, SBCTA, SCAG, our county supervisor, our senators, our assemblymen, our congressmen, to have good relationships with everybody. So it really is, it's a bigger job than what it seems like on the surface. And so basically get ready for that, but it is so rewarding. It is one of the best jobs you can have.
Dave?
Mayor, I'm not sure the audience knows, but prior to my tenure on the city council here for 10 years, I worked in city management for some 30 years and had numerous members of city councils over the years. And I have to say, the mayors and the council members that were the best were those that understood what Bill and Rick have just talked about, that they're one person, one vote out of 5, and they don't get to direct the city manager to do things specifically themselves, and they understand how the process works, and they work through the professional staff that they have. I think that's a really important thing for the community to understand, and for new members of councils to understand also.
So misconceptions, right? We don't have a key to the city. While the mayor is, to a large degree, a ceremonial role, I think a common misconception, really, whether you're mayor, and I agree with the assessment that people think, you have this power and you can make all these things happen, and you have the magic wand. I think people would be surprised, because I've experienced this, I've seen my peers experience this, that I think if you're doing the job right, you actually have, at least personally, in terms of you benefiting, you get less benefit than the average citizen, because you're deferring and you're making sure that you're not getting special treatment and all of that. And I think that's been my experience, and I'm sure I'm not alone with that. And I think that would surprise people, that in some ways, towards your personal self-interest, being on the council actually works against you.
Norm?
There's no mystique about being a mayor. I mean, it's not something you're born to be or whatever. I think a lot of people don't realize that the mayor is just the person that the job got thrust upon, and you got to do it, you know. But one thing I'll always remember from the year that I was mayor, that year I was the night manager at Gold Mine, which was the ski area before Bear Mountain bought them the next year. And I don't know if it's this way in the ski business today, but it seems to me that almost every day you have sellout crowds. But back in those days, some days, especially during the week, you'd have very few people. You might have a great weekend. It was not financially feasible to hire enough people in the ordinary jobs at the ski area. So when you did have a big day, everybody that worked there, from the general manager on down, had to get out and pitch in, you know. I remember Joe Schuff, who was general manager at Gold Mine. He used to park cars. I was the night manager. My usual job was driving a shuttle truck from the Rathbone parking lot up to the ski area. So this one particular Saturday, a huge crowd. So I'd load all the people I could onto the back of this truck I was driving, and I'd usually pick out the two best looking girls and tell them to get in the front with me. You know? And this one day, I got a mother and a daughter. And the mother was one of those, yak, 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 yak. The daughter said nothing. Yak, 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 yak. Well, on that short drive from Rathbun up to the ski area, somehow it came out that I was the mayor of the town. And at this point, the daughter piped up and said, "What's the mayor doing driving a shuttle truck?" Hey, you do whatever you got to do.
I'm going to move on to our future. So as we celebrate 45 years of incorporation, what excites you most about the future of Big Bear Lake? Rick, I'm looking right at you.
I have to think about it for a moment. I mean, we've changed so much over the 30 plus years that I've been here full time. And it's been talked about, it's single street, no stoplights whatsoever. We had one that was rolled out by Snow Summit. There was a temporary one put in the middle of Summit Boulevard and Big Bear Boulevard. The roads would back up horribly to where we are now, and again, known worldwide. So where are we going? I think we're just going to continue to improve. We've done a great job over the last few years of increasing trails, doing what we can to make our roads as good as possible, and just continue to be out there, I'll call it on the world scene. I'm just kind of always amazed right now with how many people, when I say I'm from Big Bear, "Oh, Big Bear, I've been there," or "I'd love to go there." And I think that's just going to continue. I think we're just going to continue to grow into, I'll call us almost world-class right now, if we're not world-class, to even a better world-class community, a great place where people want to live and raise their families.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, I agree with Rick. We've come a long, long way. My wife and I moved up here in 1991, and I can remember walking through the village and tripping over the sidewalks that were split, or streets that were falling apart, and the merchants were closing their doors at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and to look at where their village is today and how far we come is just a real accomplishment. And I think going forward, as long as we continue to have a stable government and our finances are stable as a city, and we're able to protect the assets that the city has, such as the parks and those things and the trails and all of that, and continue to add on to them, I think we're gonna continue to be the playground of the Southland, I believe. And you know, we got millions and millions of people down there that are hearing more about Big Bear more and more all the time now that we have the T-bid and all of that. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a great city.
Randy?
Oh, I was just going to add, It's very impressive to me that the city has developed into this real four-season resort, and we're bringing people in to visit more than just during the winter ski season. And so that's good for businesses and for those people that are involved with visitors. But it also presents a challenge to the city council and to the community to remember that it's a community of, 6,000 people or something like that right now, and the community deserves the responses from the council that are appropriate too, not just the visitors. But I'm very impressed with how the community has developed, and as my colleagues have said, I think we've often been traveling either on a cruise or in Europe or South America or somewhere, and once in a while I'll have a Big Bear Lake t-shirt or a hat on, and it's amazing how many people recognize the community even around the world, and I think that's great.
So there is no place like this in the world. There simply isn't. This is a very, very special place for a variety of reasons. Of course, the natural wonders that are around us, our altitude, our proximity to, 30, 40 million people within a few-hour drive. I mean, there's the coast that's only a couple hours away. I mean, there's so many things that make this a very, very special place. And I think the opportunity, and what gets me excited about our future, is that we still have opportunity to build on that, but do it in a responsible way, do that in a sustainable way, so that as we may grow and change, that we don't lose our heart, and we don't lose that very special thing that drew us all here in the first place, and that continues to make this a place like no other. So that's my hope, and that's what I'm excited about, is that the people that come after us in our community will continue to leverage the amazing things about this place, but do it in a way that keeps it the special place that it is.
Well, Randy, you answered a little bit of the last question in your answer there, which was, as we're closing out the panel, when you think about what makes this city so special, what is one thing that you hope never changes about our community? Bill?
For me, I just hope that the city doesn't lose that small town, hometown atmosphere. I mean, I think that's what's really important. Folks come up here, if I haven't heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times, that, what a great little town this is, and how much they would live to live up here, and how lucky we are to live up here. So that's the one thing that I hope we never lose, and I don't think we will.
Dave?
I agree with Bill about that. I have to tell just a real quick story. When we first moved here in 2006, my wife went to the post office for the first time, and somebody started chatting her up in the post office. And we lived in Irvine for 26 years, and nobody ever talked to you in the post office. And that's the kind of thing that I hope we don't lose, is the interaction between members of our community and the support that the community provides to each other. I don't know of any other community that has something like the Mahalo Foundation that gives out, $130,000 of scholarships to our high school students every year, or Doves, or the service clubs. Most of us were proud members of the Rotary Club at one point or other, and all the things that Rotary and Lions and our other service organizations, Seroptimus and other organizations do, is just very impressive for this small community, and I hope we never lose that.
Rick, did you have something?
It's really the people that I hope we always keep that small town feel, and people who come here respect, because we have people coming here all the time who are fine, who are making Big Bear their full-time home. and respect and understand that we're a small town and we get to know each other. And when you're in Los Angeles, which I spent a lot of time there, somebody could cut you off driving and you would never see them again in your entire life. Well, here, guess what? You're going to see them in the market. So you better be nice. And I'll just finish up with this because we're concluding now, aren't we?
We are.
Okay, so I just want to, with all due respect to Canadians, go Dodgers.
What I'm happy to see is that the city is slowly advancing toward becoming a destination resort, world class. That was something we only fantasized about 45 years ago. And as others said, I hope we retain that small town charm. What I hope doesn't happen, especially with the city, is that we fall into the trap that a lot of cities, as they grow, seem to fall into, and that is more regulations, more rules, less freedom. On that first council, and being more concerned about whether we're in compliance with state and federal rules and regulations than we are about what's good for our town. On that first council, probably because we didn't know any better, we had an attitude that if it sounds good for Big Bear, let's do it. If somebody tells us we can't, well, then we'll back off. But and we also realized at that time that we weren't necessarily the 5 smartest people in town. And we adopted a motto, and that motto was free to choose. And what that meant was that there's probably people out there with better ideas than we have, and don't tell them they can't do it. If it's not hurting anybody, give them a chance to do it. Maybe we'll learn something. And I hope the city will move a little bit more in that direction.
Randy, did you have any final thoughts?
I did. Thank you, Mayor. It's a real honor to be here on this stage, frankly, with all of you. And I would offer that being in this position and being fortunate enough to serve my community for 17 years now has been one of the greatest honors for me. And I'm grateful to our current council members, Chuck and Kendi as well. And as I think I alluded to before, I'm grateful to the people, including these gentlemen here to my right and our mayor, but to the people who have come before us and have given us broad shoulders to stand on. And I'm confident that the very special nature of this place will help us continue in a positive way. But thank you to all of you for your service.
Would you like to share a final moment? Norm was asked to share a favorite moment of his from when he was mayor.
I think that was
And
one
so,
of the questions that
we ran out of time, so I cut a question, and Norm would like to respond to that question. So as the last one, we're going to have Norm respond to that, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay, favorite moment. 2 that I can remember.
You only get one.
Only get,
Yeah,
well,
one.
1.5, okay. One was after I quit the council, a couple years after that, I was invited over to the home of Donna Kelsey, who was the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce at the time. And it was she and Steve Folks, who's sitting back here, invited me to lunch and tried to convince me to run for council again. By the time the lunch was over, Donna and I convinced Steve to run. And he did, and he won. Other favorite moment was several of them, but when you're mayor or even on a council, you get to meet a lot of interesting and sometimes important people. And one of those times was on one of our trips to Austria with the kids. I had the privilege of meeting Kurt Waldheim, who was Chancellor of Austria and one time Secretary General of the United Nations. Another favorite moment was the year I was mayor.
This is the last one.
This is the last one. There was some big political dinner down in Universal City that was hosted by then Governor George Deukmejian. And I'm not, Bob Van Noort, who was our city manager, and who was a great city manager, somehow turned me on to this thing. I don't know if it was for mayors from around the state or what. But anyway, I go to this dinner, black tie affair, you know. Some of the people there were Bob Hope, Jimmy Stewart, Tom Bradley, who was mayor of LA, Muhammad Ali. Anyway, we sit down to dinner, and there's bottles of Gallo wine on the table. And some guy sitting next to my wife, Linda, said, "What is your favorite Gallo wine?" Linda says, "I don't drink Gallo wine." That guy sitting next to her, his name was either Julio or Manuel Gallo. So rather than being taken aback, he went into his best salesman pitch and gave it to Linda, and about a week later, a free case of Gallo wine shows up. It didn't get any better than that.
Thank you, Norm. And thank you all for sharing your stories and your wisdom and for your commitment to service for our community. Can we give them one last round of applause? Thank you. As we look forward to the next 45 years, and I want to present each of you with a little gift as a thank you for your service, and then we will wrap up this meeting.
Mayor, did you notice that the retired guys don't have to wear ties anymore?
And a big thank you to Mayor Melnick. Thank you.
So in closing, I want to thank everyone who participated, provided the food and refreshments, and for all of you in the community who attended. This was a really special evening for me. And I also wanted to announce that tonight's special meeting is being adjourned in the memory and honor of San Bernardino County Sheriff's Deputy Andrew Nunez, who was tragically killed in the line of duty on Monday, October 27th. And the city of Big Bear Lake is grateful for Deputy Nunez's heroic service to his community, and we offer our deepest condolences to his family and those who served with him. And in his honor, we will adjourn tonight's meeting. So thank you.